I was 13, my family moved into an old farmhouse that had been abandoned for years. My parents were excited about fixing it up, but from the moment I stepped inside, I felt like something was wrong. The air was heavy, as if the house itself didn't want us there. My bedroom was upstairs, at the very end of the hall. It had one small window that looked out over the backyard and the tree line beyond it. At first, I thought it was cool having my own space so far from my parents. But after the first week, I started to dread going to bed every night. Just after midnight, I would wake up to the sound of creaking floorboards in the hallway. At first, I assumed it was my mom or dad checking on me. But when I asked them about it in the morning, they both swore they hadn't left their room. I told myself it was the house settling, but deep down, I knew the sound was footsteps. One night, I decided to stay awake and listen. Around 12:30, the creaking started again. Slow, deliberate steps moving down the hall, closer and closer to my room. My heart was pounding as I pulled the blanket over my head. The steps stopped right outside my door. I held my breath, waiting for the knob to turn. But after a few minutes, silence. The next morning, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. My door, which I always locked before bed, was slightly open. Things escalated after that. Some nights, I'd wake to find my window cracked open, even though I knew I had shut it. Other times, my belongings would be moved. Books stacked in strange patterns. Toys set neatly in the center of the floor. I asked my parents if they were messing with me, but they brushed it off, saying I must have done it in my sleep. Then came the night I'll never forget. I woke up around 1 a.m. to the sound of breathing. Not my own. This was heavier, strained, coming from the corner of my room. I froze, too terrified to move, but the breathing didn't stop. I gathered enough courage to sit up and switch on my lamp. The corner was empty, but when I turned toward my window, I saw something that made my blood run cold. A muddy handprint smeared across the glass. From the inside, I screamed, and my parents rushed into the room. When they saw the handprint, their faces went pale. The very next day, they called a locksmith to replace every lock and nailed the window shut. But even then, I never felt safe. We only lasted 3 more weeks in that house before moving out. My parents never explained exactly why, but I know they were just as scared as I was. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear those slow footsteps in my head, and I can't help but wonder, what would have happened if the door had ever fully opened? My name is Leo. To be completely honest, I'm a little lost in life right now. My family situation has been horrible for years, and I've done everything I can to stay away from home. My friends from high school have changed in ways I don't like, and my hometown feels empty to me now. I'm about to be a senior in college, and I have no idea what I'm going to do after that. Last year, I found myself in Berlin, probably searching for some kind of direction. One night, I was sitting alone in a bar called Ruya. I was getting ready to leave when I reached for my pocket and realized my apartment keys were gone. Just my luck, I stumbled out into the cold night and walked back to my apartment anyway, but it was locked tight, and there was no way I was getting in. It was far too late to get a replacement set, so I did the only thing I could think of: look for somewhere to sleep. To make things worse, it started raining. Eventually, I ended up under a nearby bridge. It wasn't comfortable, but at least it kept me out of the rain. I was just starting to drift off when I heard voices. Faint at first, coming from across the river. I sat up and saw 5 men standing near the water with a small boat tied to the shore. They didn't notice me, but I noticed them. It only took a minute to understand what was happening. Some kind of drug deal. My German isn't great, but I could see duffel bags and briefcases changing hands. I froze, afraid that if I moved, they would see me. I told myself to just wait until they were finished and leave quietly. Then, everything changed. One of the men suddenly shouted and pulled a gun on another. The others rushed forward, and I watched in shock as they stripped the man of his clothes and belongings. It was clear he had been set up. That's when I realized I couldn't stay there anymore. I started to move quietly, hoping to slip away unnoticed. But before I could, one of them shouted. Even with my limited German, I knew exactly what he said. "There's someone there." Panic hit me. I bolted, sprinting blindly into the night. Shouts echoed behind me. The only words I caught were, "Don't shoot." My heart nearly stopped. I didn't dare look back. I just ran until my legs gave out, collapsing on the sidewalk, gasping and nearly vomiting from exhaustion. They never chased me down, but the truth is, they could have killed me that night, and no one would have ever known why. Sometimes I still think about that moment, standing under that bridge, watching something I was never meant to see. And sometimes I wonder if running is all I've ever been meant to do.